My name is Hassan Thomas, former student athlete and current promoter of all things financial wellness. And today, we have a special athlete. This guy here helped lead the University of Miami's basketball team to its first Final Four, one of the best shooters in college basketball, Mr. Nigel Pack. How you doing, bro? How you?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
Man, blessed to have you here. And not only do we have Nigel, but we have the man who brought him in this world, the CEO of Trinity Financial Consultant, Mr. David Pack. How are you, boss?
I'm doing great. Hassan, how are you?
Man, blessed to have you here. Well, we first originally met, and this is going to be a quick lesson on networking for everybody. We first originally met at a podcast summit. What was that? What was it? August? June? When was that?
Was it July?
Okay, July. Yep. So we met at a podcast summit in July, got connected, did an interview. So this is just a quick lesson for everybody on networking, right? The importance of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. And how we really like to start off our show, we like to start it off with a couple icebreaker questions that we call the financial coin toss. Y'all
Okay.
ready?
Yes.
Ready?
All right, bet. So this first question is for Nigel. Which is more important to you? How much money you make or how much money you can keep? Which one is more important?
How much money you can keep?
Okay. Why you say that, boss?
Well, when you think about it, I can make all the money in the world, but if I don't get to keep it, it really does nothing for me. I'd rather be
Big
able to keep
fact.
keep the money than, be able to make it but not be able to take home any of it.
100%. And honestly, I feel like, every athlete, every entrepreneur, they have that turning point in their life when they realize that they can actually make it. And I want to know, what was that moment for you, Nige? Did you always know it from 5 year old hooping, or when did that light switch turn on for you?
I would have to say probably sophomore year in high school.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the game started clicking for me, as in the game became more of a passion for me
Mm-hmm.
personally. I started, playing with AAU. I finally picked up an offer, I think the summer of my sophomore year, and I feel
Okay.
like, hey, this is a chance, this is an opportunity that I have. I wanted to make it to the next level. I wanted to play D1 basketball, and
Mm-hmm.
college coaches were starting to look at me. They started to come, watch me recruit me, and I was like, this is something
Yeah.
that I could really do. Not only is my parents telling me that I could do it, but now I have people whose jobs that really matter are believing in
Uh-huh.
me. So that's when I feel like things clicked for me. And
Mm.
once I got that passion inside myself that this is something that I wanted, I feel like that's when my game, went to another level.
What was that initial recruiting process like for you? Was it super exciting? Was it a bit overwhelming? What was that initial recruiting process like for you?
It was definitely overwhelming. It's an experience for sure. It
Mm-hmm.
definitely, takes a lot of time, but it's definitely a blessing, to have all the college coaches that reach out to you that want you to come play for their program when they're making X amount of dollars. They're basically putting their career on the line to believe in you that you can get to come get the job done. And even though it was a lot
Yes,
of
sir.
schools and having to break down, what school was best for me and where we're going to take a visit to, even though that process can be overwhelming with college coaches calling your phone and texting you, you have to reply to them and things like that. That's really a blessing. Like if you think about it, you got to look at the cup half full instead of half empty.
Big facts,
Man,
man. And David, that first question that I asked, when did you see the light switch turn on for Nigel?
probably his sophomore year, it was when I really knew that I said, hey, man, this guy going to be able to go to a whole nother level. It was a tournament we were playing up in, it was a special invite. We went up to Chicago and
Yeah.
we had kind of a one game, and it's kind of all these collective players, kind of a tournament, superstar tournament player. And man,
Mm-hmm.
he went out and balled. And I'm sitting here like my wife didn't want to
Against
come.
the best competition.
Yeah, against the best competition. I got to see it. And man, he went out that game and probably put up like 35. He was
Good
probably like
Lord.
12 or 15. And I'm sitting here saying, I called my wife, we got in the car. I said, oh, you missed that one. You should have been there.
Yeah.
Right. And that was one, you know, I start seeing those instead of maybe once every 20 games or something, I start seeing more of those. The same thing when he went to the
Mm.
EYBL and he started balling over there with some of the top athletes.
Mm-hmm.
That I seen him being able to ball, saying, hey, he can definitely play at high major.
Uh-huh.
Especially that's what the EYBL really showed, that he could play at the very, not just mid major, but he could play at the high level.
Okay, this is just a quick question because my little brother is a phenom. I'm telling you, my man is gonna be super tall, track, basketball, football. David, did you have Nigel playing upgrades like with some older, more talented people, or do you think it was best for him to stay, with his class and play with his class? What's your thoughts on that?
No, yeah. So when we was playing AAU and I was his coach up to the eighth grade, yeah, we would always play up.
Yeah,
Depending on what
just
tournament
made him better.
yeah, what tournament we went to, if it was a high profile tournament like John Lucas down in Houston, we played at
Mm,
our grade. But when we kind of went to different tournaments around the country, we would play a grade up, right?
okay.
And we'll go over to Columbus. We're from Indianapolis. We'll go over to Columbus. We're gonna play a grade up, and we'll go compete, and we're playing for the championship even at a grade up.
Hmm. And did you like that, Nigel? You feel like that made you better, or what's your thoughts?
I think so. If you think about it in the long run, when you get to college, when you get to, the pros, you're always going to play against people that are older than you. And I feel like if you can
Hmm.
learn that principle younger, it just makes you better. It makes you prepare for the worst. And playing up at a younger age, really prepared me for once I got to college, playing against seniors and guys that are
Yeah.
grad transfers that are 23, 24 years old, and I'm 18. You just got to learn how to
Hmm.
play the game a different way.
I love that. I love that. And considering that you are one of the first few classes that actually get to benefit from this new NIL rules, what's your experience been like? Kind of give us some pros, some cons. Talk to us about that.
It's been great for me personally. Transferring to the University of Miami, with this being, I think this is the second or third year, it's been a
Hmm.
thing. Obviously, the first year I was at Kansas State when NIL kind of first dropped. Everybody was still new to it, but I was able
Yeah.
to secure a couple deals in Manhattan, Kansas, with one with a dealership that was, providing me vehicles to drive around, and I was posting them, the different
Oh
things,
yeah.
and I really appreciate that. And then I had a restaurant that was pretty good that I used to like to eat at, and they was,
uh,
giving me free meals, and I would just post it. I mean, it's pretty easy, really
no,
good
that's
meals, and I
cool.
get to try stuff. So, I mean, it's been great. Now I'm here at the University of Miami working with a company I'm actually about to go see here in a little bit called Life Wallet. It's been a
Okay.
great opportunity. Also, it's been really good to network with a guy named John Luis. He's the
Mm.
CEO of Life Wallet. Obviously, a lot of connections here in Miami, and not only is NIL like bringing money into your pocket, but it gives you like a networking ability. And being
For
able to
sure.
know him and have his name and his phone number in my contacts to be able to reach out when I need something. Hey, do you know
Hmm.
this guy? Could you help me with an internship? Now I'm a senior. I got to start doing
Yeah.
internships, things of that nature. I feel like he'll have, with the snap of his fingers, you'll be able to call, somebody that's does something with sports
Hmm.
podcast, sports, anything like that. With those type of networks, I feel
Yeah.
like NIL is more than just, bringing money into your pocket and being able to spend money.
No, that's
Yeah,
super valuable, and I'm super glad that you mentioned, the networking piece because what I tell everybody is you have to be personable out here. Me personally, I wouldn't have moved this fast in 3 years if I wasn't a personable person, if
yeah,
people didn't like my authenticity, my energy. So just being personable, having that network that you can call on is huge. And
absolutely, absolutely.
did you want to add something to that, David?
No, I think Nigel answered that great.
Mm-hmm.
It was an opportunity. The only thing I would add is we had an opportunity, and I think Nigel had the maturity one,
Mm-hmm.
and then also the family structure to help him through that deal with NIL when it became public. Because then all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden there was a lot of conversation. There was a lot of things out in the media that he had to kind of live with instead of
Uh-huh.
that being private. But that's something from a young man to mentally be able to take that on and be able to manage that and still get through the season. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did a great job of managing through that last year. And again, I think he already said he looked at the glass half full instead of half empty because
For
now
sure.
he's looking at how do I network with this individual or these individuals to be able
Mm-hmm.
to not just bring in the income, but I'm also going to use, besides the income, use the network to be able to expand potential future opportunities for me.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your thoughts, Nigel. How does it feel? Because honestly, NIL athletes are the CEO of their own brand, their own
Mm.
company. So how does that feel to now be, what are you, 19, 20, or how old are you now?
22, 22.
Dang. You done sprouted up.
I know I'm an old head now. I'm part of the old head
But,
crew.
nah, for real. I'm about to say, I'm 25. You ain't too far from me. I thought you was still 19, 20. So, being that you are the CEO of your own brand at 22 and have been for the last 2, 3 years, how does that feel? What type of advice do you have for people? Kind of talk to about that experience of being the CEO of your own brand at such a young
Mhm.
age.
Yeah, it really comes down to how do you carry yourself? How do you brand yourself? Social media is a huge thing right now. How do you carry your social media? That's what, people are looking at. Obviously, as a kid, used to play around on social media. You would post funny and goofy stuff, but now you got to be really responsible in what you post, what you like, things
Gotcha.
that you look at, who do you follow, like all that type of stuff is, type of things that people look for, especially companies, big companies. You can see it now, especially in the NBA. I mean, obviously those guys are making millions, so they could lose out on a deal. But when you're at this age, those companies are looking at what are you saying in the media, what are you saying to people, how do you treat people, things like
Yep.
that. And you see people all the time losing deals because of something they posted on social media or something they liked.
Years ago,
Um,
sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
from
From
way back
years back.
2017, like that's something that's like it's people really look for that stuff. They really have, a lot of
Uh,
money into this, and at the end of the day, it's really, somebody's career that's on the line for you to, promote their brand, and that's something I've been kind of, trying to learn on how to also build my brand, but also how do I smartly do it while keeping a good image for people that might want to work with me in the future, so I don't have anything that when it comes up and we're in 2026, 2027, they can't
yeah.
go back to my old Twitter on 2015 when I was trying to talk to a girl or something. Like none of
Yeah.
that stuff. So you just got to be smart on how do you network yourself on these social media, because man, social media is crazy nowadays, and the power that people have, and the resources that you can use it. You can either use it in a good way or a bad way.
Yeah, yeah, man. That's what I was gonna say. How you ended it. It can either be used for positive or for negative. So especially, and that's kind of what I mentioned in the beginning. By knowing your end goal, knowing your vision, you know where you want to go. So you know that it's some things that you can't put out, some things that you can't do that others may be doing because they're not looking at that end goal, that vision goal.
Yep.
So
Right.
I think what you said is huge for everybody listening. Man, keep woman, man, anybody, keep that end goal, that vision in your mind because that's gonna help you. That's gonna help guide you on some of the things that you may be able to do, may not be able to do, may have to, strive away do in the private because you, like you said, everything is kind of publicized now with you being a, big college athlete, NIL, making all this money. So yeah, man, that's huge. And speaking of the money, I want to ask David. Me and you both know that college students are going to spend money.
Yes.
Especially when they're making NIL, they're making these, making these deals. So kind of talk about some lessons and some guidance that you've given to your son to make sure that he's successful financially after graduation.
Yeah. Nigel and I had a conversation early as he signed this new deal. What does he want it to look like now to what he can enjoy in college? And then what can he use those funds to be able to set up his next move as he graduates from college? And Nigel's still a young age at 22. So
For
at
sure.
22, you don't know exactly, or 24, you don't know exactly everything you want to do. And I think just as you go through life and you explore different things, I want him to be able to have that opportunity to go explore different things, to say, I like that, or no, I don't like that, right? And the more things you go through and say, nah, I don't really like that. Well, that's
For
great
sure.
because that's not where you want to put your energy, your passion, and your energy at, right? So give him that time to be able to do that when he's all of a sudden 30 or 35 and he really saying, man, this is something I can see myself getting up every single morning doing, and
Yeah.
then be able to have the resources and be able to have the people around him, the network to open those doors, man, he's going to be able to easily step into those. And as far as entrepreneurship is kind of where I hope my son get to, he is. Now the question
Speak it,
is he
speak it.
going to,
Come on now.
right? He's going to have the resources. Right now at 22, he already just shared, he understands the power of networking and how they can open up doors. Well, we already had conversation. We're putting more than probably 65% of his funds away into
Oh
an
wow.
investment account, right? that he's putting that kind of way just so to make sure, one, his taxes are paid, two, he got investments. So when he do get to that point to say, hey, I want to go open, my first roof Chris, right?
Yeah.
He's got the resources, he's got the image, he's got the
Mm-hmm.
network to be able to go make that happen, right?
I love
Or
that.
I want to go open me a brand new BMW dealership or anything like that he's saying he want to do. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's about us just putting up right people around him for him to go make that happen.
Man, that's huge. I definitely see that. Just the fact that you've imparted this knowledge on him, that puts him at a different level. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
some people, they aren't blessed to have the parent. Some people aren't blessed to have, the guardian that can, impart this certain knowledge on them, and they have to sometimes get it from other places. David, quick question for you. For the people who don't have the parents that can, like Nigel mentioned, can be like really involved in the finances, would you say a financial advisor would be best for a college student making a lot of money, or what would you say would be the best solution for them?
Putting all these people at the table with someone you know and trust to be able to have your CPA, be able to have your investment advisor, have
Yeah.
your student athlete, where we know we're communicating saying, this is the plan. Here's some of the stuff you get to do and enjoy today. But also we know that, hey, as Nigel said, Miami is a very
Mm,
expensive city. Man, you can
for
get,
sure.
whatever dollars in Miami. Man, you can get $1 million in Miami. You look up 1 year later and say, man, what did I do with my $1 million? Or
Uh-huh.
you can put 70% in somewhere or 65% save somewhere, and then decide later, okay, at 30 years old, this is what I want to do. And now when you're sitting there at 30 and you want to go do this business investment, and it's going to cost
Mm,
you $1 million to open that business investment, and they're going to
yeah.
say, okay, you pull 200 out of your investment, and we get loans for the other 800, you're ready to go, right?
Mm,
And now that business investment pays you for the rest of your life, and it allows you
gotcha.
to invest in other investment opportunities. So when you look at
Yep.
40, you got 5 tables you're eating from, and not
Mm-hmm.
just the one you started at 30. That's the goal, right? So when he's 40, he's eating from 6 or 7 tables, and they're all
Mm,
providing good things for him, right? And he can continue to expand so he can give that same knowledge and that
yep.
same head start to my grandkids.
Come on. When you know better, you do better. You see how you throwing them
Absolutely.
grandkids on you, Nigel?
He got other
Yeah.
kids.
Hey, I'm gonna stay out of that one. I'm gonna stay out of that one. But I got a couple more questions for you. I'm gonna let y'all go. Nigel, before you do go, what tips do you have for upcoming athletes that aspire to be in your position one day?
Yeah, I would say, staying down and working hard. That's what it comes down to. I remember, one day I was talking to my trainer. Shout out to Nick Daniels. He's, been part of, this journey of helping me get
Mm,
to where I'm at. I remember talking to him before I went to college, and I forgot the exact player's name, but he told me a player that went to Michigan State. He told me how much he worked hard and how he separated himself from others. And, some people think, separating myself is going to put in, 10 hours a day of, hard work every day, and I'm going to be able to separate myself. And, sometimes, but that's not really the key. The key is being,
mm,
they always say is quality over quantity. And, the quality of your work, he told me that, sometimes even on Saturdays, be a big party he wanted to go to. And, everybody else is, 2, 3 hours before they getting fly.
yeah.
They going to the mall real quick to get their fits. He's going to put in an hour and a half in the gym, going to get ready. And even though
Mm,
it's just an hour and a half, people think only, it's just only an hour and a half, but that hour and a half really means a lot when somebody else is not putting that hour
mm,
and a half in. If you could take time to really put in quality work, especially, taking care of your body, and, your body takes tolls on you, especially as you get older. Now I'm a
mm.
senior, so I can, I can vouch on that one, but if you can
Yeah.
put that quantity of work in, really planning out on what you want to work on so you can be efficient with the time that you put in. I feel like at the end of the day, that always means more than just going in the gym and putting up 3 hours of random things and doing random things that, really doesn't apply to what you're going to use in the
Mhm.
game.
Kobe said you gotta put in your 10,000 hours of work to become an expert, and to add to what you said is that those 10,000 hours need to be quality.
Yep.
So
Yes.
that's amazing, man. one more question I got for you, David. What tips do you have for the parents of student athletes, the guardians of student athletes, on how they can better support their child through all these new rules, new changes, and things of that nature?
Yeah, and before we even get to the rules, the very first thing is I'm going to have to say they're going to have to realize they're going to need to take time to continue to invest. So my thing with Nigel is he's my son. My job is how do I invest in him because he's going to eventually become a man and have his own family. An apple tree, when I plant the first seed to get me a tree, I can't go out 6 months later expecting apples to be on that tree. That tree ain't gonna give me any fruit probably 5 years. But after
Yeah.
5 years, it's gonna give me, as long as I continue to prune and take care of the tree, it's gonna give me fruit for the rest of my life.
I'm right there with you, David. Nigel, thank you so much for jumping on the Nothing But Net Worth podcast, man. Want you to have a great
Yeah.
season this year. Continue to do some big things. I'm right up in Boynton in West Palm Beach, man. So I ain't too far. So we gonna get that championship this year.
Oh yeah, we're gonna bring one on down to South Florida.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. David, man, thank you so much for being on.
You're
For
welcome.
thank you for being a great example of a black father, and just continuing to be an example for Nigel, for myself, and for other fathers out there. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us, Hassan. This has been great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For all
All
the
right.
listeners, thank y'all for tuning in to the Nothing But Net Worth podcast.
All right.
If you're looking to be educated, motivated, and inspired to not only stay in the game, but to change it, the Nothing But Net Worth podcast is for you. See you next week.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.